What's good, my lovely peoples? It's your main man Solace here, the humble servant of the life. Today I want to do this video called The Tree of Life is Ancient Voodoo. It was the practices of voodoo. Now, today times we do not understand voodoo. And this is why we don't grasp things when we see them. So when we see the ancient Kemetic carvings and we see the tree and we see the men pulling from the tree, we can't grasp how that relates to voodoo. Because voodoo today got to do with magic tricks, demons, goblins, ghouls, and all this crazy stuff. Voodoo don't got to do with trees, and this is where the knowledge is lost. Because voodoo is knowledge of the root, which is the plant. So when you see the tree and them picking from the leaves, this is representing each plant that the life brings forth. Now we know there's an abundance of plants, and every plant has many uses. So you have certain grass plants that bring forth rice. You can make rice pudding, alcohol, all types of things with rice. So a person who had knowledge in the plants on its deepest levels, meaning they knew what plant made rice and then how to make alcohol with the rice, and so you have to grasp it's a deep thing. So this is what voodoo in its true nature is. It's knowledge of the root. So you would always hear like people say, oh, this person put a root on this person. That's what it is. The divine knowledge of the plant. This is why when you see people on TV or something doing voodoo, in like Africa in its real nature, they were using like plants and things. But you know, knowledge is lost, so the movie can only do as good as it can do. But it was understanding different medicinal plants and the hallucinogens of it and where it could take a man mentally. So you have to grasp this is where putting a root on somebody came from. Y'all got to understand when I said crack is an ancient spell, it's deep. Crack comes from the coca plant. Knowledge of the coca plant, you can make coke, crack, and 1,000 different other types of things that will have different effects. Crack don't have the exact same effect as cocaine do. This is why crackheads and cokeheads look completely different. So you have to grasp. A person that had knowledge of the root of voodoo could have pretty much did anything to a man. You could heal him, or kill him, or make him suffer. So you gotta grasp. When you hear words like spell, oh, they was putting spells on people. What is a spell? A controlled substance. Usually has a recipe. All spells have recipes. What is drugs? The same thing. Medicinal plant recipes. So you have to grasp a lot of ancient carvings with the trees is just different recipes with the plants, which would be the root, which would be the trees of life. So you have to grasp everything that sustains the living in life comes from the plant. Trees come from plant, vegetation, food, medicine. If a man is sick, he needs a medicinal plant. If you have a rash, you get an aloe plant. So it's the deep understandings of the plant. See, we only scratch the surface on things today, and we deal a lot with imitation things. So it's hard to truly grasp. They understood the plants was the base beginnings of the life. That is what sustained all the living in it. So they understood the plant to be living. Just like I told y'all, the sperm is the spirit. The seed is the same as that. So they understood. We don't grasp things. This is why when we speak of voodoo, it's It's separate from everything. We don't even have a topic on ancient plants in all the different knowledge of each plant. See, grasp that. How many people can teach today and say, this plant, you can do this with it, that with it, and this is the recipe for all the different things you can do with it. And then get all the medicinal plants and do the same. We don't really have a topic on that. They did. This is how deep they were into the knowledge. So you have to grasp. Voodoo didn't have to do with evil things always. But it's like anything when you're dealing with knowledge. You can get the good, the bad out of it, whatever. So this is how that happens. So we just got to look at things more in a real life manner, because at this point we look at voodoo as magic tricks. And everything you've ever heard of the past, no matter how crazy it was, it had to do with knowledge of the life. So if you heard of demons and goblins and ghouls, this had to refer to something in the life. Demons refer to drugs when men were under the spell. So you have to grasp the spell is what drugs would have been referred to in the past. But they didn't have drugs. Everything was just in its natural state. So they would just get the plant, mix up however it needed to be mixed, and gave it to the person right there. It was no chopping and bagging and all of that. You just make the dose right there. The plant is in the bag, get the whoop, 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 whip it up. You give the person the spell they need, whether good or bad. So you got to grasp. Dope, the opium plant. This would be what would have been used in like love potions. But see, when we think love potions, we think magic trick shit. You don't think opium plant. And how when a person is addicted to dope, they will always come back to whoever has it. Grasp how deep it is. If nobody's running around selling dope, and you got knowledge of how to make dope, and you got the plants, the root, to make it, and you hit them off with some of that one day they sick, you say, here, take that. They'll always come back to you. What you think they would call that? Man, that motherfucker's in love. Do whatever this motherfucker say. Because they under the spell of that opium, that dope. So it's a deep thing. It's just like a crackhead. They're under the spell. This would have been a bad spell. You got to grasp. This would have been a bad... Because they looked at the coca plant as the divinest of them all. See, coca puts you in a sexual state. Many different states. However you choose to whip up the coke. Fix it up. It's all got to do with recipes. So you make crack. That was a bad voodoo spell. Because drugs were spells. Fuck a motherfucker up. You give them that crack spell. And it's just like today. But the only difference is we don't have no knowledge and no connection of the past to now. Everything is separate. What they was talking about is lost knowledge we need to find. And the things we have now is just our new discoveries. No, there's nothing new under the sun. Names are just different. So we just have to grasp how simple this truly is. A sorcerer would have been like a pharmacy tech, except the depth of knowledge in the perspective of the sorcerer is deeper, because they have a better understanding of the root of the drug. Same with a witch doctor or voodoo priestess. Ain't no different than what we have today as a doctor, except the depth of knowledge and perspective. The doctor now only knows the surface of knowledge. The witch doctor, voodoo priest would have known the depths of it. See, doctors deal with imitation drugs and things they make. The doctors of the past would have dealt with the knowledge of the root. Because that's going to heal anything if you got the knowledge of what to do with it. So it's a deep thing, man. It's just like a prophet. It's no different than a weather forecaster of today. But the prophet would have had a better understanding of the knowledge. The same way you can forecast the weather, you can forecast anything. Y'all have to grasp. They can tell the weather because they understand a thing called astronomy and things of this nature and dew point and just many different things. This is how they can tell if it's going to rain soon or whatever. And the man can do that on his deepest levels. It depends on his level of knowledge. So all knowledge comes from the life. We got to grasp that. You had life. Men started learning from life. And from that you got voodoo, which is knowledge of the root, which is the most important thing of life. And then from that, you get like Santa Maria and many different forms of voodoo. And this is where things start getting lost. And then you have little dolls getting poked with pins. And the whole concept of it just gets completely flipped upside down. And then from Santa Maria and things like that, you get Christianity and religion and all this lost shit. So it's a deep thing y'all gotta grasp. It's your main man Solace.